And welcome to another episode of the Rorschach Test Podcast. I am your host, Terrell James. Today I got a special guest with me, Corey Walker. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I am doing great, doing great. I've been really looking forward to this interview.
Me too. I'm a little nervous,
I know you are.
what you're gonna find.
When I saw what you had posted on Instagram. You said something. I can't remember your exact words, but you said something about being a little nervous about this interview. That made me even more excited about doing this interview. But okay, so Corey, but so of course, well, before we get there, everybody watching, if this is your first time watching, what I do here is I put up a series of Rorschach or ink blot tests, and I ask my guests what they see. So based off of what they see, I link it to what it is they do for a living, or their passions. Kind of go back in time, talk about childhood, just try to connect some dots to try to figure out why you got to where you are. So, but before I get into any of the pictures, Corey, I'm going to give you an opportunity to just tell everybody exactly what you do and who you are.
Sure. I'm Corey Walker. I am the co-author of Instagram for Dummies and Instagram for Business for Dummies. And I'm also a digital marketing agency owner in El Dorado Hills, California, which is like right outside Sacramento. So I help businesses large and small with Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, posting content, creating content, doing ads, analytics, all of that.
Okay. All right. So we are going to go ahead and get into the pictures here. Okay. So we're going to start here. So tell me exactly what did you say that you saw here?
So I think it looks like a chicken that's been splayed out. So I don't know if you're familiar with the cooking term spatchcock, but a spatchcock chicken is when you literally, I think they break their spine and they splay it out and then they cook it kind of flat and open. So that's what I saw because it looks like the top's drumsticks, the bottom's the top's the wings, the bottom's drumsticks. I don't know, and then the middle's the spine, and then the rib cage comes around. So it's very clearly a spatchcock chicken.
So I was not familiar with the term until you
Yeah,
said it.
it's not one
I had
that
to,
is common vernacular out there.
right. Yeah, I had to go look it up. And then when I looked it up, I said, oh my gosh, that is exactly what that is. So, okay. So, but you said an X-ray.
Well,
You said it looks
yeah,
like
I
an
mean
X-ray of a spatchcock chicken, right?
yeah, yes.
Okay. So, because and I didn't want to leave that word out because
Okay.
we're going to focus on the word X-ray as well.
Okay.
So, okay, so with an X-ray, that's something, you're looking inside. So we're talking
Mhm.
about being able to see inside of something.
Okay.
The chicken, oftentimes when somebody is scared of something, people call them a chicken, right?
Mhm.
Now, not saying that you're a chicken, but I do want to talk about fears. And going
Okay.
back to that X-ray, I want to talk about fears that are inside of you, but I want to go back
Ooh.
to childhood though.
Oh,
So
wow.
when you
Okay.
were a child,
Yes.
you weren't expecting this.
I'm like, oh, here we go. Buckle up.
So when you were a child, what fears
Yes.
did you have that were inside of you? And when I say inside of you, I mean fears that you may not have necessarily shared with anybody. Like you didn't go to your parents and say, "Hey, I'm scared of the dark," or "I'm scared of the monsters," or whatever the thing like that. I mean,
Hmm.
something that you just never shared.
I mean, I think I always feared just like not fitting in. I was a pretty normal kid, but I think we all have that fear like, well, what if people don't really like me? What if um everybody's doing stuff without me and I'm just alone. So I think just, fears of being alone. Also, as I was going through high school, I knew, like, I grew up in Maryland. So I didn't tell you that, but
No, you didn't.
yeah. So, and he's in DC for anyone not familiar. Yeah. So I grew up in Maryland, and then when my mom got remarried, she we were moving to California, so that's how I ended up in California and was going to Sacramento State.
Okay.
So there was lots of fears of, being alone and not knowing anyone and going to this new place and things like that, because I knew ahead of time that my East Coast journey was going to end. So
Hmm. Was it a bit of a culture shock for you going from the East Coast to the West Coast?
yeah, in the beginning, it definitely was. It's a lot more laid back here, and now I've been here a long time now, but yeah, it's definitely more laid back. There's growing up on the East Coast, I feel like there was more expectations. Like the school I went to, you go to a 4-year university, like that's just what you do, and everything was a little bit more fast paced. And but here I felt like there was a little bit more just a laid back vibe. I mean, just like you would think in California, there is a more laid back vibe. And it
Hmm.
wasn't as, I met lots of people that were starting college, 21, or they went to a junior college. And where I grew up, it's like, oh, we don't do that. We go straight to the 4-year university, and so it was, yeah, it was interesting because I never had that choice. Even I felt like that's what you do.
Hmm.
And so yeah, it was laid back. There was just different language. I mean, people talked, they just had some different expressions. Like people
Right.
said hella and things that they don't say that anymore. That was, back then. But anyway, people said different things, and I had an accent.
Hmm.
I've since lost it. It was mild, but I had, a Maryland accent.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so it was different, but I liked it, and luckily I make friends pretty easily. But yeah, it was different for sure.
Hmm. Okay, so that fear that you had of fitting in when you were writing your first book, because you're on your fourth book right now, right?
Yeah, so I just finished writing the second edition of Instagram for Dummies. So there's two versions of the business book, and now I'm finishing the second version of the regular Instagram for Dummies.
Okay, so that fear of fitting in with that first book, I know this is certain. There's a certain degree of trepidation that comes with releasing any book at any
Hmm.
point, but
True.
especially that first one.
Yes.
What did you have that same fear of being accepted with that book,
Oh,
with releasing that book?
100%. I mean, because the Dummies brand it's a big brand. Like
Right.
people know that brand. And so of course there's like this imposter syndrome going, like,
Hmm.
well, there's people that have way more followers than I do on Instagram, or they're doing more things on Instagram. They're, I'm going to write this book and they're going to say, well, why'd they pick her to write this book? Like, what is it about her that she thinks she knows Instagram. So yeah,
Hmm.
there's big time imposter syndrome and all of that stuff that goes into when you first put yourself out there, whether it's writing a book or, having a podcast or any of those things that make you go, well, are people going to actually think that I'm qualified to be speaking about this, or, that kind of thing.
Right. Hmm. Yeah, and that's understandable,
Hmm.
especially if you already felt that way about just simply being yourself.
Hmm. Hmm.
So now you have
Yeah.
something that you're trying to present to millions of people, if not
Hmm.
billions, of,
No.
of people, and now you're like, okay, I really need to be accepted by a large part of this of these people in order for me to be successful. So now we're talking
Right.
about success being predicated on being accepted, and yeah, I can understand that being fearful.
Yeah. And
I mean,
even just with podcasts in the beginning, people would say like, oh, you should do more podcasts. And now I'm totally comfortable with it. I'm fine being on a podcast. But it was the
Mhm.
same thing. Like, well, what if they ask me a question and I don't know the answer? I'm going to look really dumb. And
Mhm.
so I've learned, okay, well, first of all, no one knows everything about everything. So if I don't know something, it's not a big deal. Like,
Right.
I'll just say, I'm not really sure about that, but that's a great question.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that's the other thing, just being in any media where you're just out there and proclaiming you're the expert, which I mean, I don't
Right.
usually proclaim that, but anyway,
Mhm.
just that's the that's the vibe you're giving off. It's
Uh-huh.
it's scary, but I've kind
Mhm.
of come into that now.
I'm gonna tell you another trick that you can do if somebody asks you a question on a podcast and you don't know the answer. So you start off and you say, "Well, actually," and you just stop. So that way it looks like your screen froze. They'll stop the podcast. You can go get the answer while the podcast has been stopped. Come back. They can pick up. You got the answer. So you're welcome.
The old freeze trick. I get
Exactly.
it.
um, ironically, your screen just froze when you
Oh,
like. I promise you, it froze for a second right after you said the whole freeze trick.
that's
Um,
funny.
okay, okay. So my next question, I still want to stick with this chicken and well fear. I'm talking
Mhm.
about fear.
Okay.
So you as a digital marketer, people bring something to you. These are people. These people are creators. So they're bringing something to you that they have created. When somebody creates something, is very special to them.
Mhm.
Well, in order for them to become successful, they have to put this on display for the world, right?
Mhm.
That comes with a certain level of fear, especially when it's something that is special to you.
Right.
Well, your job as a digital marketer is to make this person as visible as possible to as many people as possible. And that right there can be terrifying, knowing that there are more and more eyes that are on you. So,
Yeah.
have you ever run into a situation where somebody, just because of the visibility, their fear was heightened, and you had to help navigate them through that fear in order for you to run a successful campaign?
Yeah, I mean, well, and it happens a lot now that video is so big
Mhm.
because most people don't enjoy being on video. And it took me a while to get over that hump as well because it's like you just, you pick yourself apart or you feel like,
Mhm.
oh, I'm not going to know what to talk about. So definitely navigating the fear because I tell people like you need to do more reels, you need to do more videos, and they're like, oh God, I hate that. But yeah, because they're afraid they're going to look stupid in the
Right.
end. That's the big thing. So for
Mhm.
sure I've had to help people get over that. And usually once you practice, and I'll tell people just do videos yourself, just put them on your own phone and don't even post them and just start doing them.
Mhm.
And then once you're comfortable, then you can start posting them, but you don't have to go right out if that's not comfortable for you.
Mhm. Now, are you able to take your own advice? Because I know you've had your fears with being accepted. Are you able to take your own advice with navigating through your fears so that you can run a successful campaign?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely. So I have done a lot more reels, which interestingly enough, since I started doing reels before a lot of people started doing reels.
Hmm.
So with that, that's helped me become known more for doing reels. So I've been getting requests more like, well, teach us how to do reels. So yes, I did follow my own advice, which
Okay.
in a lot of ways I don't, but in that way I did.
Got you. Okay. All right. So we are going to move on to another picture now. Okay.
Okay.
So what did you say that you saw here?
Well, I said I saw two faces like facing out. So you'd see kind of like the nose and I don't know, I guess double lips
Uh-huh.
below that. And then I saw an owl kind of rising out of the middle. So at the top, you kind of see two eyes and almost like a beak and kind of little, like his body. And so there was an owl rising up in between.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so now let's go back to childhood. So you saw two faces, and you said then they're
Facing out.
looking and they're looking out, so they're looking
Right.
opposite directions, and then the owl is in the middle. So
Yes.
owls are normally a symbol of wisdom.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So were you that kid that made wise choices, or were you that kid that looked the other way while all the other kids were making wise choices?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm kind of a hybrid. So maybe that's why we're seeing both
Okay.
because I did sorry mom and dad if you're watching, but I I did a lot of like dumb things. Like, I would go out to parties and I had a fake ID and would go down to DC at like 17 and do some, yeah, not smart things. But then I also would, get really good grades. I was kind of the friend that, the parents would be like, "Oh yeah, you're with Corey. Okay, that's great. She's a nice girl." But then I'd be like, "Come on, let's go to DC."
With our
So
fake IDs.
it's our fake IDs. So yeah, so that may be why I'm seeing both because I was a hybrid,
Mhm,
doing bad things and then also still keeping on my path and, got into a good school. I was taking, honors English and all these things um,
mhm.
at the same time.
But you stayed on path though, and you never,
I was,
you
yeah.
never veered too far off the course,
No,
which is what led you to this point.
yeah.
So, and maybe, and probably some of those bad decisions that you made, um, they probably helped shape you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I
they did.
learned that I could take some risks. Now I have an 18-year-old daughter, and if she did some of the stuff I did, I would have a heart attack.
Yeah.
But
After you killed her.
yes, exactly. Um, yeah, but I I don't know. I guess I navigated risk taking and I learned some lessons like now looking back, of the things that I wouldn't do again and
Mhm.
looking forward into making better choices in my life.
Well, that's one of the ways that we acquire wisdom is
Yeah.
by learning from the things that we've done,
Hmm.
and not becoming not becoming trapped. I know my mother used to tell me all the time, if you always do what you always did, then you always get what you always got.
That's a mouthful, but
So
yes, I understood
right,
it.
exactly. Right. So, but it's the same, but that's wisdom. When you realize I can't continue doing what I'm doing because I'm going to continue getting what I'm getting,
Hmm.
and you learn from that and you grow from that, you move away from that place. That's where, a lot of wisdom is birthed.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of wisdom does come from some bad decisions that we've made. Um,
Mhm.
the wisdom only comes when we stop making those decisions.
That's true.
Oh, so, but speaking of wisdom, and well, the owl, speaking of the owl, so owls, I believe, if I remember correctly, I believe owls can turn their heads in
Mm.
270 degrees, I believe, in each direction, if I
Sounds,
remember correctly.
yeah, they can go almost all the way around.
Right, right. So that means they can see what's up in front of them. They can see what's currently next to them. They can see what's behind them. So I
Hmm.
want to talk about foresight, insight, and hindsight.
Okay. Mm.
So, but I want to really focus more so on foresight and hindsight because insight, you use insight when you're using foresight. And you
Hmm.
use insight, and insight causes you to look at things in hindsight. So right now I want to
Hmm.
focus more so on the foresight and the and the hindsight, because the insight is what essentially leads you to both of those points.
Okay.
Foresight. When we come with your book, what was your end game? What were you looking to accomplish when you decided to write this book?
Well, I did want more clout, which is what it brought me. I mean, of
Okay.
course, you know, the money, you always think, oh, well, I'm going to write this book and I'm going to make all this money. Well, you don't actually make that much money writing a book. I'm sorry to tell you, you just
Right.
don't. Um, so once I realized that it wasn't going to be just this massive check that I was getting, what I did realize was that the clout that being part of the Dummies brand gives you opens a lot of doors. So
Okay.
yeah.
Mhm. Got you. Okay. And that is interesting. I honestly expected you to go somewhere else with that. I really thought that you were going to talk about wanting to help people.
Oh yeah, that.
But I
Yeah, I want to help
appreciate your
people too.
honesty. But look, I appreciate your honesty, and I like that answer better. like, because I don't. I'm gonna tell you something. I always appreciate honesty, but I also like when people give me answers that are not common.
Hmm.
Like I don't like when I get the things that you are expected to say.
Hmm.
I sat here when you said clout. I kind of reacted a little bit when you said clout, and I was thinking to myself, well, there you go. Like, and then like you said,
Yeah,
the dummies
help
brand is
people.
not
No, I do like helping people. I do. Um,
right.
yes, I do.
Um, but I can imagine, being in this space as a digital marketer, of course, you're going to want to help people because that essentially is your job.
Yes, it is.
So
And I do truly enjoy, especially, some of the small business people that even like take a dentist. They go to
Mhm.
school and they go to dental school and all that. But they're never taught about marketing a practice.
Right.
So, they think, oh, I'm going to be a dentist and it's going to be perfect and I'm going to work on teeth all day. But they
Hmm.
don't realize is that's, maybe 40% of their job.
Right.
They have to run an office, they have to be a manager, they have to market themselves. So
Hmm.
I like taking someone that was thinking, oh, business is going to be this, and showing them, oh, well, what they failed to teach you in dental school, let me teach
Hmm.
you how to run your business and be successful. Because if you don't have this marketing piece over here, you're not going to get to work on the teeth over here. So,
Right. Right. Okay. That makes sense. That makes perfect sense. Okay. So the other thing, no, okay, so now let's go to hindsight. I'm gonna go to hindsight. So we spoke about the foresight with why you wanted to write the book because you wanted clout. Um and and money.
because you're selfish and you want money and you want to be
Exactly.
famous.
Right, right. And care nothing about people. So so which, by the way, everybody, if you just tuned in at that
That's a
moment, it's a
joke.
complete lie. It's a joke. It is a joke. But now I do want to talk about hindsight. So, do you find yourself looking back at some of the mistakes that you have made in the past? Look, I'm just assuming you made mistakes in the past, but do you find yourself looking back at some of the mistakes that you've made in the past and now trying to rectify those things?
Yeah, well, now that I've written, several of the books and I'm more comfortable in my own skin, I'm trying to rectify the fact that yeah, I can go out on a podcast and I can talk about it and I'm not nervous about it and I don't shy away from it. So I have a coach that I work, like a business coach, and she's the one that really like pushed me to get on these podcasts. And in the beginning, she kind of has a system for getting on podcasts, and I was just resisting. And I
Mhm.
was just like, and she's what's your block here? And I'm like, I don't know. And so finally she took it upon herself. She's like, I'm introducing you to like 10 people and they're going to call you and they're going to make this happen. So then once that happened, once I did a few, I'm like, oh, this is actually kind of fun. Like, I don't know why I
Mhm.
was so scared. And a lot of them would provide the questions ahead of time. So that was also a bonus. I'm like, oh, well, I could just look this up if I don't know.
Right.
But, and then a lot, like you, now I'm comfortable going in somewhat blind and just being like, all right, what you got? And
Right.
yeah, so getting over that fear initially, like I was more hiding, like, oh, I wrote this great book, but I don't really want to talk about it because I don't want anyone to ask me questions about it. And
Right.
yeah,
hmm but you're able to
but I'm over
so
that.
yeah. What'd you say?
I'm over that now. And now
Okay, got you.
I will
So
talk. I will shout it from the rooftops. No, I will talk to anybody that wants to talk about it. Yeah.
uh, but again, that was going back to fears,
Hmm.
and self-doubt.
Yep.
So you were questioning yourself, questioning your ability to articulate on a podcast or to um I guess maybe seem interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I think my biggest fear was just feeling that imposter syndrome. Like they would ask me questions and they would possibly be more knowledgeable than I was. And so they'd ask me a
Okay.
question and I
hmm
would not know the answer. And then I further confirm my imposter hood.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, so look, we're going to move on to the third and final picture. Well, kind of final picture.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, there's some things that you don't know about. So, so we're going to go here. Okay. So, what did you say you saw here?
I said it looked like some kind of like firefly, but he was coming at me like he was mean. So it was like
hmm
some mean firefly coming at me.
hmm Okay. So, when you were a little girl, did you try to catch fireflies?
I did. Yeah. And now, see, I'm sad because they don't have fireflies in California, but I
Oh, there
did
you
in
go.
Maryland. I did.
uh Yeah, I
Hmm.
remember like running around trying to catch them with my friends,
Hmm.
whatever. Um, Now, when I would catch them in my hands like this,
Hmm.
but I had some friends that would actually come outside with a jar,
Hmm.
and they would catch these fireflies and put them in the jar and put this lid on top of the jar, and then now it's like, hey everybody, look at my fireflies in this jar, right?
Yeah.
So these beings, these insects that are supposed to be shining their lights on the world now have a ceiling and are
Hmm.
now trapped,
Hmm.
right? So, my question to you is, as a woman in a world that is pretty much dominated by men and a bunch of men that don't even want women to have any sort of power,
Hmm.
do you ever feel as though, or have you ever encountered a man or men coming at you and trying to put a ceiling over you and prevent you from shining your light on the world?
Hmm. I do recall one semi partnership where I was seen as like junior kind of and I was younger then, so part of it's kind of like, oh well, is that just because I was young or
hmm
not? But in general, I've I haven't had a ton of that, which has been good. Um, yeah, so I mean, I did have that one instance, but I don't feel that suppressed
hmm
um, in that way. So I'm not sure.
So, as you continue to rise and become more successful, it's a good chance that it may happen.
Yeah.
How do you think that you will be able to pivot if it does happen?
I think at this point I have the confidence to address it.
Hmm.
And if it's, if I find that it's not a good fit because of that, then move on to something different. One of the things that I love about having my own business is I get to call the shots. I get to decide who I want to work with, who I don't want to work with.
Hmm.
So if I'm feeling that, um, I feel confident enough that, you know what, I've been running my business like literally for 17 years. I didn't need that person then, and I can move on and not need them now.
Yeah, and that's a great way to view it. Unfortunately, the playing field isn't level when it comes to
Yeah.
men and women and business and power and things of that nature. I know with a lot of men, when men are when they put their foot down when it comes to business, they are seen as assertive.
Hmm.
When a woman puts her foot down, people call her a bitch.
Hmm.
And it's like, it should be either the man is a bitch too, or or the woman is assertive
Right.
as well. And so I just oftentimes wonder when you have, because you're an owner, you own the agency.
Hmm.
So I just oftentimes wonder with women who are in positions of power, how often you've had a man try to come along and try to make you feel as though you're less than, or that you're inferior, that you don't know what you're talking about, that you don't deserve to be in the position that you're in. Just
Hmm.
wonder how you navigate around that. But it's good that you haven't really had to deal with that.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't too much, and it could be as as I grow and keep going that does happen. But
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, I it's hard to say until it actually happens. But
Right. Hmm.
I have been told that I'm good about explaining a situation or talking about something in a way that is assertive yet doesn't come off bitchy because I'm approachable. So I have heard that before.
Okay.
Um, that I have this nice way of telling someone to. Um, so yeah, maybe it would find find its way out of my mouth that way. I'm not really sure. I haven't had to like
Mhm.
fully cuss someone out or anything, but
Well, hopefully you don't have to.
yeah,
But if in the event something does happen, it's always good to have the ability to do it. I mean, to just let those words fly, let them know who you are and who they shouldn't play with, where they can go and how they can get there.
yeah,
So I'm all for that.
yeah,
I am all for that. So now, not all the time, not all the time. I mean, you of course you want to handle something properly initially,
right, right.
but I believe that there's certain situations where sometimes you have to meet people where they are, because
True.
they have to understand. Um, you can rise up and rise up and rise up and rise up against me, and the longer I sit here and try to um, and the longer I sit here and try to ignore you, if I can't get something accomplished by ignoring you because you are starting to become a problem, I got to come up here and meet you where you are and
Mhm.
show you you're not as big and bad as you think you are.
Yeah, true.
So, but hopefully you never have to encounter that. Hopefully I never have to encounter it either again. But if in the event we have to, I mean, hey, hmm, break some jaws. All right. So, okay. My next question to you is, okay. You said this firefly, it looks unpleasant. Like,
Mhm.
I'm sorry, you said it's not nice.
Mean. Yeah,
It's
mean.
mean, but you said it's coming to greet you, but it's not nice.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so coming to greet you meaning somebody is bringing something to you.
Mhm.
Not nice meaning that it's unpleasant. So with marketing, with as being, you being a digital marketer, have you ever been faced with a time where somebody brought something to you that was unpleasant? And I mean something that they wanted you to market, but it just didn't sit well with you. Let's say it vexed your spirit, or you didn't believe in it. It was something that you were just totally against, but you are now stuck between your morals and business.
Yeah. Um, I haven't, I can't say that I've been presented with something that was like totally against my morals. But I've definitely had clients where I was like, oh, this is not a good fit.
Mhm,
And so I have turned them away because I can already tell like this is not what I want to do, and they're not
mhm,
going to get the results that they want. But I'm trying to think, I can't think of an instance where it's been, they're wanting me to market something that's, just so against my beliefs or whatever.
mhm. So let's say that that does happen. Let's say somebody wants you to market something that is just completely outside of, you know, I don't want to give any examples because every example that's coming to my head is I got something else telling me don't say that, don't say that. But let's say that somebody does bring something to you that you are just completely against, but there's a lot of money involved.
Hmm.
Are you able to put your personal feelings and views to the side for the purpose of business? Or is it that you're like, you know what, sometimes I have to make a decision for me because I have to look myself in the mirror?
Yeah, I mean, I think even if it was a big money thing, if it was something I was really like against, and if I thought, well, bringing this into the world is going to bring more bad stuff into the world,
Mhm.
then I
Right.
wouldn't want to do that, and I wouldn't want my, first I wouldn't want that in the world.
Hmm.
A, I don't want to get caught again with being all about me. And then
Right.
second, I wouldn't want my name attached to it because somehow it might get out like, oh well, Corey now markets for, I don't even want to say what because I don't know, but
Mhm.
markets for some bad thing.
Right.
Um, so I wouldn't want my personal brand associated with it. But it's also, if it was something I was totally against, then I wouldn't want to bring more of that into the world.
Okay. Um, okay. So now what I want to do is I have some things. So this is the surprise. This is the part of the show that you didn't know about.
Ah.
so so
Gonna
what
drink
I've
some
what
water
I've
for this.
done so what I've done is each one of these pictures. This is the portion of the show I call flip the script.
Mhm.
Each one of these pictures, I have them all upside down.
Oh,
I'm going to put these pictures up on the screen and I'm going to tell you what I see.
okay.
So, based off of what I see, I want you to just ask me a question. You can pick whichever one of these pictures. And based off of what I see, just ask me a question.
Okay.
Okay. So, right here. So, actually, let's go back here. So, this is the firefly is coming to greet you, but it's
He's
not nice. Okay.
yes.
So, this is that same picture upside down.
Okay.
So what I see, it looks like a Christmas tree
Oh,
made out of candles sitting on top of a disco ball.
I can see that. I would not have gone there, but okay. So I actually, and I'm not a vapor, but I saw a vape pen, just so you know.
You know what? I see it right in the middle.
Yes.
Yes, I see the big fan. Okay.
Okay, so Tyrell.
Well, no, hold on. Not yet, because I'm going to show you the other two pictures,
Oh, okay.
and then I want you to decide based off of, whichever picture, whichever you just choose one of the pictures.
Okay.
And so based off of what I see, then you can ask me whatever question. Although look, you're ready. That was fast. Okay. But
I
but
didn't have a question. I was just,
Oh, okay.
Being
You were about to BS
philosophical.
your way through it until something came to you. Okay.
Yes.
So, all right. Well, this one may cause a question because here I see the female reproductive system.
Hmm. Yes, I see that.
And this one, oh, I'm sorry. Let's go back to this one for a second because this is the original picture.
Yeah, so that's the way I saw it.
Right. Uh-huh. And then,
Spatchcock chicken.
right.
But yes.
It honestly looks like a spatchcock chicken upside down as well.
Yeah.
But I do see the female reproductive system
Yes.
and the other picture. So this is what you saw,
Yes.
and upside down,
Looks much different.
yeah, it looks like a penguin holding on to two monsters. Like there's a monster on its left and a monster on its right, and it has its little they don't
Mhm.
have hands. What do penguins have?
They have little
Are those
flaps,
fins?
like
Flaps? All right, we'll call them flaps then. Okay.
flaps.
So like it looks like they're like reaching out with their little flaps and holding on to two monsters.
Okay, so are the flaps at the top like he's like
No,
pushing?
no.
Oh,
I actually didn't know the flaps are at the like in the middle.
okay.
At the
Okay.
top, whatever that is, I couldn't figure out what I saw with that. I just skipped that part. I was like, maybe she won't bring it up, but you brought it up. So but yeah,
Okay.
I don't know what that is.
So let's see.
So which
Um,
picture?
let's go back to the Christmas disco ball one.
Okay.
Okay. So tell me what, growing up, what was Christmas like for you?
Christmas was one of my favorite times of the year. I'm gonna tell you something. So I used to I didn't do this a lot. Maybe about 3 or 4 years I did this. What I would do is I would go and open up the gifts. Like I would see the gifts that were they had my name on them,
Mhm.
and I would just kind of open it up a little bit, and then I would close it
Retake.
back up. I would tape it and then turn it upside down so that nobody could tell.
Okay, wait.
Uh,
I just have a little funny story I have to interject about that.
okay.
So, growing up, we had guinea pigs,
Uh-huh.
and we would make the guinea pig like nibble on the wrapping paper so we could see what it is, and then we'd blame it on the guinea
That was ingenious. I'm sure your parents didn't fall for it, but that was ingenious.
pig.
Well, what I did, I had a I just it's like some of my toys, like let's say a basketball or whatever. I believe I told my mother I was playing with the basket because I got caught. But
Mhm.
I was playing with the basketball and the ball hit the gift and it opened the gift.
Oh, right. Hmm.
Come on now. Now I promise you I'm smarter than that. Okay. I promise you I'm smarter than that. But at the time, it was just the first thing that came to
But
my mind.
8-year-old you wasn't smarter than
Exactly.
that.
Exactly. So, but this one particular Christmas, my parents had gotten me an indoor basketball court.
Oh,
And it was behind the tree and it was leaning against, so our tree was in front of we had this big sliding glass door and it was leaning behind that door, or maybe it was the wall. No, it was the wall next to the door. So it was leaning against that wall. And I I had I had a feeling that that's what it was because I had asked for it. And it was the biggest thing over there. So I said, I wonder if this is that basketball court. So I opened it up a little bit, but I made the tear a little too big. So I taped it back up, leaned it back against the wall, hoping that my mother wouldn't see it. So Christmas Day comes and I'm opening all of my gifts and I'm just waiting for that one. And it she didn't give it to my parents, but both of my parents, they didn't give that one to me. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? So now I'm happy that I got these other gifts, but I'm heartbroken because y'all
yeah.
knew I wanted that.
Yep.
So then my mother eventually said, all right, turn to my father, all right, we can give it to him now. And she said, I knew that you didn't give it. Oh, I'm sorry. Prior to that, what she told me was that they just had some little side conversation, but they made sure I could hear. And they were saying that that belonged to my nephew.
Oh,
that it was his gift. So now I'm sitting there heartbroken, like,
yep.
oh my gosh, like why in the world did they knew I wanted this, right? So then my mother said, all right, you can go ahead and give it to him now. And I was like, that's really my, yeah, that's yours. Don't you tear another gift, another Christmas at
Yes.
any point in your life ever again. And I never did it again. That was my last time.
So you learned something from the experience.
See, I acquired wisdom. It's like that owl.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so real quick about the disco ball.
Uh-huh.
Um, a disco ball represents could represent New Year's Eve,
Hmm.
partying.
Hmm.
What does that bring up for you?
New Year's Eve, the so I'm not really big on partying. I've never like been into clubs and things like that because I don't like big crowds, and I
Hmm.
definitely don't like big crowds when you mix alcohol. I
Right.
just
Yeah.
it just because people are stupid. Human beings are stupid.
Yeah.
So um so I try to stay away from it. Although as I've gotten a little older and the people that I hang out with or the places that I'll go, people are now more mature. I've
True.
started to do certain things now. So like me and my wife, we will go to New Year's Eve parties.
Hmm.
We do go to New Year's Eve parties, and those parties are a lot of fun. A
Yeah.
lot of fun. So that disco ball, it's funny that you asked me that question because when I first looked at that picture and I saw that disco ball, I actually thought about the disco ball that is at the ceiling of one of the little places or the little club that we go to for New Year's Eve. I thought about that disco ball. So yeah, that's exactly what that reminds me of. Those fun nights with a bunch of mature people, and nobody is causing any type of ruckus or there aren't any arguments. Everybody's cool and just having fun.
Good.
Just having fun and just celebrating a new year. So yeah, that's what that reminds me of. Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't have any more questions.
Well, normally people only ask me one question. You asked me
Oh,
two, so that was
okay.
great. No, because and I like the questions. I'm sitting there like, okay, if you have more, just look, fire them off. But I'm the guest now,
Yeah.
so you can interview me. So
That could be the next podcast. Like
yeah,
I interview you.
yes. I would like that. I would like. I actually have a friend who is a psychologist, and probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we're doing a show where um I'm just completely flipping everything around. I will be telling him what I see on
Mm,
the Rorschach test, and then I will let him psychoanalyze me
very
on the
good.
show. Yep, yeah.
I'll
So
have to
I'm
watch
really
that
looking
one.
forward to that. Yeah, yeah. That's going to be fun because, as you can see, I see some weird things. So,
Yeah, the penguin one, I when you flipped it upside down, I saw a fairy with
so a
wings.
fairy. Let's put it back up here. A fairy
See, like
with
she's
wings.
wearing a white dress, and
Okay.
then the
Mhm.
black part at the top is her head, and then she's
Mhm.
got the things that you thought were monsters are her beautiful wings.
Okay. I can see. Okay, I see that now.
Hmm.
I see that. But also, since you said that, now I also see a butterfly.
Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah,
but we don't do butterflies are so basic. Everyone sees
they are.
butterflies,
We
right?
had that conversation
Yeah.
yesterday. Yeah, we're not doing butterflies.
No.
No, we see penguins and monsters and fairies. So.
Yes.
Well, Corey, look, we are going to go ahead and wrap up. But
Okay.
before we do, I just want you to just tell everybody exactly how they can get in contact with you and everything that you have going on, your books, your digital marketing, your website, just all of the information you want to put out there. Just give it
Okay.
all to us.
Okay. So, first, kind of the umbrella, if you go to themarketingspecialist.com, that's my website. So a lot of these links will be out there. But if you want to follow me on Instagram, I'm at Corey C. Walker. So just how it's spelled on the screen, but with a C in the middle. And I share several times a week all sorts of tips for Instagram and reels, and I do reels and stories and all sorts of stuff. So if you're interested in using Instagram to grow your business, follow me there. Let's see. All of my books, Instagram for Dummies, Instagram for Business for Dummies, are available on Amazon.com or Barnes and Noble. I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, all of the above. So if you search Corey C. Walker or Corey Walker, you can usually find me. But again, my website, themarketingspecialist.com, has all the links. So
Got you. Okay. So before we get out of here, I do have one more picture,
oh
and I want you to tell me exactly what you see here. Okay.
boy. Okay. That is true. It is.
You can go ahead and read it though, so everybody can know.
This podcast is so dope.
And I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much, Corey. I had a blast.
Me
Thank
too.
you for your time. Thank you for you know what? You are one of the people that you're one of the driving forces behind creations getting put out there to people. If you think about it, creators, they create from like I was saying earlier, from a personal place.
Mm-hmm.
And when you create, sometimes it touches people's lives. You could have somebody who is having a rough day, somebody who could be on the verge, honestly, on the verge of making a decision that they can't come back from.
Right.
And there's somebody who has created something, and they sit there and they listen to them or they watch them, and it changes things for them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you are one of the people that's behind the creator, that is making sure that those things get pushed out to the world.
Mm-hmm.
So the same way that that creator is a hero, so are you.
Oh, well, thank you.
So thank you for being the hero that you are. Thank you for everything that you're doing. Thank you for shining your light like those fireflies. And I can't wait to see what else you got coming. The books. Oh, did you mention the books?
Yeah, Instagram for Dummies and
Oh,
Instagram for Business for Dummies. And
okay.
you can find them on Amazon or barnesandnoble.com.
Okay, and then there's another one that's coming up, right?
Well, the second edition of Instagram for Dummies.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Okay.
it's
Okay.
just
All
an
right.
updated version.
Got you. Okay. Okay. I just wanted to make
Yeah.
sure that you said that. Okay. Okay. Well, again, thank you so much for your time. And for everybody else, y'all be good to each other.
Thank you.